Hello, my name is Aceves, and I am an Assistant Attorney General in the Consumer Protection Division of the Vermont Attorney General's Office. The goal of this presentation is to inform small businesses about steps they can take to maintain their cybersecurity. It is aimed towards small businesses that might not have a dedicated IT person on staff or a cybersecurity plan in place, but do have an online presence. It's my goal that you come away with some basic information on how you can take steps to better secure your business and avoid security breaches or scams, while also informing you about the steps you can take if you do have a security breach. That said, this is a high-level overview of cybersecurity. I do not touch upon every scenario or requirement out there, but at the end of the presentation, I do link to a number of resources that have lots more information, and I encourage you to take a look at those. So, what is cybersecurity? It is the practice of defending mobile devices, electronic systems, networks, and data from cyber threats. In other words, it's taking steps to ensure that your online presence is protected from scams. To give you an idea of the world we are living in when it comes to cyber threats, here are some statistics. Top company losses from phishing are estimated at over $17,000 per minute. The cost of ransomware events is over $22,000 per minute, and security breaches at top companies are estimated to cost $25 per minute. We'll get into what phishing and ransomware is in a few slides, but for now you might be thinking, well, my business doesn't nearly make this kind of money. I don't need to worry about cyber threats. But that's where you're wrong. Theft of digital information does not discriminate based on size, and in fact, it's the most commonly reported fraud. So whether your business is large or small, if you use the internet, you need to take steps to ensure that your business, your customers, and your data are protected from cyber threats. Here's a real-life example. UVM Medical Center experienced a security breach in the summer of 2021. It happened when an employee who was on vacation logged onto their network computer over an unsecured network. They opened a personal email that looked like it was from someone they knew, when in fact it was from a hacker. Then when the employee got back to work and turned on their computer, the hackers were able to infiltrate the entire UVM Medical Center system. This was a huge deal. The medical center has access to some of the most sensitive personal information out there, including social security numbers and medical records. So even the potential of a data breach was very alarming. The medical center's IT team took immediate steps to cut off their internet connection and protect what data it could. They also worked with the FBI over a number of weeks to investigate the incident. The bad news that came out of the incident is that the medical center systems were down for several weeks, and they had to rebuild their entire network. It cost them over $54 million. However, the good news is that because they had a data security plan in place, they were able to mitigate a lot of harm and prevent a data breach, so no personal information was compromised. And that is one of the things we hope you take away from this training, that having a data security plan is crucial to mitigating and hopefully completely avoiding a security breach of your business. So moving on to the different types of scams. This list contains the most common types of scams you might see. And I'm going to describe these scams and later get into what you can do to prevent being a victim of them. One of the most common types of scams is phishing. This is when you get an email or text that looks like it's from someone you know. For example, it could be look like it's one of your company's vendors, and it will ask you to click a link to update your business account. It will look real, and it will often pressure you to act now to prevent something bad from happening. If you click on that link, scammers can then install ransomware or other programs that can lock you out of your data and spread to your entire company network. Next is spoofing. This is where you will receive an email that looks like it's from your company, but really it's a scammer trying to get you to send them money. Needless to say, this is a huge risk to your business since it could result in your business losing money. Another type of scam is tech support. In these scams, you'll get a phone call, a pop-up, or an email, usually from someone pretending to be from a well-known tech company, telling you there's a problem with your computer. They may ask you to open some of your files or run a scam on your computer. They will always want you to give them money, personal information, or access to your files. And finally, ransomware. This is where you might get a phishing or spoofing email, which we just talked about. You will click on a link or download an attachment, and once you do that, everyone will be locked out of your network, and the link you clicked on downloaded software that is holding your data hostage. Scammers will demand money or cryptocurrency in order to restore your data, but oftentimes, even if you were to pay that ransom to get your data back, there's no guarantee you will actually get it back. This is what happened in the real-life example at UVM Medical Center. An employee clicked on a phishing email, which caused a ransomware event. So how can we avoid falling for these scams and protect our business? There are three basic categories of steps you should take in order to ensure protection. The first is to protect your files and devices. This means to update your software, including apps, web browsers, and operating systems. If you don't already have your software set up to update automatically, we strongly recommend you do so after this training. It will ensure that your system has the most up-to-date protections in place. Also, secure your files. This means to back up important files online on an external hard drive or in the cloud. It also means securely storing paper files. You also want to ensure that you're requiring passwords. You should be using passwords for all laptops, tablets, and smartphones, and you shouldn't leave any of these devices unattended. If you have a brick and mortar, for example, and you use a computer to check customers out, you should have that computer password enabled and preferably with separate passwords for you and each of your employees. Device encryption. A lot of devices are automatically encrypted these days, but making sure they're encrypted is especially important for any devices that contain sensitive personal information. So, for example, that computer that you have at your shop that processes customer payments and takes customer credit card information, you want to make sure that device is encrypted. It is likely worth a quick check to see whether your devices are already encrypted, and if they're not, you will need to take steps to encrypt them yourself. Finally, use of multi-factor authentication. This requires additional steps beyond logging in with a password, like a temporary code on a smartphone or a key that's inserted into a computer. This is recommended to access areas of your network with sensitive information, such as credit card information, social security numbers, and the like. The second category is to protect your wireless network. This includes securing your router, which you can do by changing the default name and password it comes with, turning off remote management of the router, and logging out as the administrator once the router is set up. You should also make sure your router offers at least WPA2 or WPA3 encryption and that it's turned on. Typically, if you see the small wireless logo on your router, this will already be done for you, but it is worth checking. The third and final category is to incorporate security into your business practice. First, require strong passwords. This means at least 12 characters that are a mix of numbers, symbols, capital, and lowercase letters. It's recommended that you don't reuse or share passwords and that you limit the number of unsuccessful login attempts in order to limit password guessing hacks. Also, train your staff. This means implementing regular security sessions and updating employees about new risks and vulnerabilities. If you create a culture of security, you will have increased success against a scam. And finally, have a plan and a point person. This means having a plan for saving sensitive data, running your business, and notifying customers if you experience a breach. It also means designating an employee as a point person who will coordinate and implement your data security plan. These are some other ways you can secure your business. Physical security. This means securely storing paper records or devices like USBs that contain sensitive information and getting into the habit of regularly shredding any files you no longer need. Also using email authentication, which allows a receiving server to verify an email from your company and either block or quarantine emails from imposters. Some web hosts will do this for you, but other times you have to take steps to do it yourself, so it is worth checking. Secure remote access for you and your employees when you need to work from home or offsite, making sure you use WPA2 routers and also avoiding public Wi-Fi networks that aren't secure will go a long way. Also consider purchasing cyber insurance. This often is not included in your standard insurance policy, but should be offered by your insurance company. Just like home and car insurance, it provides a lot of comfort, and should you experience a security breach, you will be covered. Finally, you can look into the National Institute of Standards and Technology's Cybersecurity Framework, which is comprised of best practices to help companies manage their cybersecurity risks. This is completely free. It's also completely voluntary. So moving on to your data security plan. As I previously mentioned, if there's one thing we want you to take away from this training, it's that you need a data security plan in place. This information is listed from the Federal Trade Commission's website, and it lays out 5 key principles of a sound data security plan. First, take stock and know what personal information you have in your files and on your computers. This means taking inventory of your computers, mobile devices, laptops, flash drives, and any other equipment where your company stores sensitive data. Also inventory the information you have by type and location. And also talk to your staff to get a complete picture of who sends sensitive information to your business, how you receive it, and what you collect. Second, scale down and keep only that information you need for your business. If there is no legitimate business need for the information, keep it only as long as you need it. This means not holding on to employee security numbers or customer credit card information unless you have a business need for it. And if you have a business need for it, you need to secure it. This leads me to the third point. Lock it and protect the information you keep. This includes physical security, electronic security, and employee training. If you recall the slide where I spoke about the 3 categories of steps you should take, and you follow those steps, you should be in good shape here. Fourth, pitch it and properly dispose of what you no longer need. This means shredding paper documents, using dedicated software to wipe old computers before you dispose of them, and making sure all your employees follow proper steps to dispose of sensitive information. And lastly, plan ahead and create a plan to respond to security incidents. The Consumer Assistance Program hears from a lot of people that this is their biggest hurdle. When a small business experiences a security breach, it can often grind your business to a halt because instead of running your business, you now have to address a security breach. Having a plan in place will help lessen this strain. So doing things like designating a member of your staff to coordinate and implement a response plan, making sure you disconnect compromised devices from your network, immediately investigating the incident to ensure your information isn't compromised, and knowing who to notify if you do have a security breach, all of these things are essential. Moving on to security breaches in Vermont. Section 2430 of Title IX defines a security breach as the unauthorized acquisition of electronic data that comprises a consumer's personal identifiable information, otherwise known as PII. In Vermont, PII includes things like social security numbers, driver's licenses, tax numbers, passwords, biometric data, and other things. Notably, in Vermont, PII does not include location data, but given the evolving nature of cybersecurity, I think this might change. It's also worth noting that the statute does not apply to the good faith but unauthorized acquisition of PII by employees for a legitimate purpose, but it must be related to your business. Again, having a data security plan in place will help prevent this from happening. This is a helpful graphic that illustrates the different types of PII, with the caveat that the Vermont statute does not cover all of these, most notably geographic information. So you've done everything right. You've taken steps to secure your business. You have a data security plan in place, but the bad thing happens. You have a security breach. So what do? There are 6 steps you need to take. First, secure your data. This means immediately taking your equipment offline and changing any passwords to prevent further data loss. Make sure you don't shut off your equipment, however, because it is part of an investigation now. Second, notify law enforcement. I recommend first starting with your local police, but you may also need to contact your local FBI office. Third, if you have cyber insurance, you'll need to notify your insurer so they can take steps to further ensure your business's protection. Fourth, notify any affected businesses. If account information like credit cards has been stolen, but your business doesn't maintain those records, the institution that does will need to be notified. If you collect information on behalf of other businesses, you will also need to tell them about the breach. And under Vermont law, if more than 1,000 customers are affected, you have to contact the proper credit reporting agencies. Fifth, notify your customers of the breach. Best practice is to notify them immediately after you discover or are notified of the breach. However, under Section 2435, you do have 45 days. The Attorney General's website has a document that goes into lots of detail about our our Security Breach Notice Act. On page 30 of that document, there is a model customer notification form that can be used in certain circumstances. Notice by direct mail or telephone is required under the Act, but you can notify customers via email if you either don't have any other contact information for them, or that's the primary method of communication with the consumer. Finally, you must also notify the Attorney General's office or the Department of Financial Regulation if you are a DFR regulated entity. Section 2435 states that you have 14 business days from discovery or notification of the breach to report the incident. You also must specify the date of the breach, the date of discovery of the breach, these can be different, and a description of the breach. Should you fail to report the breach, Section 2458 specifies that you could owe up to $10,000 worth of penalties per violation. So it's very important that you ensure you report any security breaches in a timely manner. So 4 takeaways. In order to best protect your business from security breaches, make sure you take steps to protect your files, devices, and networks. Second, incorporate security into your business practices. Have a data security plan, and know what to do if your business experiences a security breach. We recognize this requires a lot of time and resources to implement, but it is the best way to ensure your business is protected and that you are following the law. These are some resources should you be interested in learning more about cybersecurity. Our office has several forms of guidance, as does the FCC, the FTC, and NIST. And finally, should you have any questions, you can reach out to our office at ago.datasecurity@vermont.gov. And should you experience a security breach, they can be reported to ago.securitybreach@vermont.gov. Thank you.